Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast. It's the podcast where we have digital discussions in the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. And of course, wrestling. This is our hashtag week of wrestling, where we're interviewing wrestlers all week, posting one every day. Pleased to be joined by professional wrestler Scorpio Sky. Scorpio, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
No problem. Mentioned right before we started, I always like having guests like you who are kind of have multifaceted talents. Like, for example, you're a pro wrestler, but you've also been involved in MMA. Did you kind of always know that you wanted to do both? When did you kind of get into that field? When did you kind of like decide that you wanted to go into like fighting or wrestling? Like, when did you decide that?
I was always a wrestling fan growing up, so like wrestling would be my first love. You know, as long as I can remember, I was a big wrestling fan. So it was something I kind of always wanted to do. And then I got into mixed martial arts also really young as a kid. I mean, the old UFCs when they were like kind of banned, like was that like 94 or something, 95. And even back then I was taking like karate classes and I was like, man, I want to do that one day, cage fighting. So obviously I got deep into wrestling for 5 to 10 years before I ever had a cage fight. And I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I think it's almost now or never, because I am getting, at that time, I was in like my mid 20s and I'm like, okay, I gotta start doing this if I'm ever going to do it. So one thing led to another, and then I was doing both.
How do you balance that? Like, I mean, there's going to be different preparations. How do you balance that?
It's so hard, actually. It's one of the reasons why I'm not fighting now, is because when you're fighting, you have to train, at least 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah. And
if you just don't have that time, with a busy wrestling schedule, sometimes I'm not home for, 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row. So I might only be home 2 days in a week, or I might be home, sometimes I'll be home 7 days in a week, but it's rare. And then I've got a lot of other stuff I'm doing here, and I've got to get to the gym just to actually get my regular physique training in. So it's really, really hard. And then the last few times I actually had fights set up, my opponent pulled out of it. So a lot of times I would take the time and I would train for a month or two, because it takes a good 6 to 8 weeks to get ready for a fight. And then the guy will pull out of it last minute, or he'll pull out of it a couple of weeks in. And so I've had that happen to me about 2 or 3 times in a row. So it's been hard getting fights as well.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. It is a fantastic time for pro wrestling, true or false?
True.
It is incredible to see the amount of talent out there, the amount of shows. It's just amazing, right? It's
great time for indie wrestlers.
It's just amazing. What do you think has been the most the beneficiaries? Like, the indie wrestlers are, but the fans too, because they're getting access to all this amazing content, all these shows. But it's just a great time. It just seems like there's so much content out there.
I think the biggest beneficiaries of this this change in pro wrestling has been small guys like myself. When I got in the business, if you weren't 6'2", 250 pounds, they weren't even looking at you. Mm-hmm. And we knew that. Even with WWE, it was just like, you're not even going to get a look. You might get called up to do some extra work, but the best case scenario you can hope for was getting killed in a squash match. And now guys my size are main eventing. So, and that's not just on the indies, but in the WWE as well. So I think guys I'm not really, like, I'm still kind of a smaller guy, but I'm not really considered a small guy anymore.
No, absolutely. Part of our hashtag week of wrestling, we've talked to a lot of different fantastic wrestlers like yourself. We've talked to Matt Riddle, RJ City, John Schuyler, Matt Taven, a lot of different wrestlers. The one thing that they all talk about is the kind of advantages that social media kind of have for indie wrestlers as well. The ability to kind of brand yourself, the ability to get yourself out there. And I'm sure, like you said, That's something that always comes to mind too, right? The ability that you have kind of this tool that you can use to promote. And like 5 years ago, people maybe didn't even know who you were, but now with social media, that's not the case.
It's huge. It's huge. Back in the day, if you wanted to become a star, you had to have a company behind you. You know, you needed WWE or WCW or ECW or whoever, you know, behind you, pushing you, introducing you to the audience. Um, Obviously, tape trading helped quite a bit. You know, underground, yada yada yada. And now you don't need tape trading. You've got YouTube, you've got Twitter, you've got Instagram. You can take yourself right into the fan's home anywhere in the world. And I have fans, you know, that like message me from Israel and from all these different countries that I've never even dreamed of going to. And there's, oh, I'm a big fan of yours. And it's like, it blows my mind what social media does. And it's only going to get bigger, I think.
It's just getting bigger. I'm really excited to ask you this question because everyone that knows your work from Wrestling Society X, Ring of Honor, everyone knows that you kind of love doing things that make people go, wow. You're like a lot of your crazy moves. What do you think about these bigger guys doing the moves that guys like you or Matt Sydal do? What do you think of that change in wrestling where you have these really big guys like Keith Lee, Donovan Dijak, Moose, right? Doing these like crazy acrobatic things. That's a new, like to many people, that's a brand new part of wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I think it's great. You know, I think if you can do it, do it. You know, why hold back? Show what athletes we are. You know, you got guys that are, you know, over, you know, sometimes in some cases over 300 pounds. If you look at somebody like Willie Mack, who's, he's not like
Willie Mack, yes.
yeah, he's not like a big guy, you know, as far as like stature, but you know, he's a good 250, 300 pounds, and he can do moonsaults, and he can do, you know, even like Jeff Cobb, you know, he's doing shooting star presses and stuff. I think that's great, and it only improves and helps the quality of the shows. And yeah, like I said, if you can do it, do it.
And it's insane. And you know, there's a lot of things that you probably like. I mean, there's a long list. Like if I ask you, Scorpio Sky, what's your favorite thing about being a professional wrestler? It's probably a long list. Anything come to mind that maybe tops the list of what you love about being a pro wrestler?
Telling an interesting story. That is definitely
Storytelling.
whether it be a storyline or even just in your match. Like, I think for me, when you can touch the audience in some way and create a memorable moment that people will talk to you about years and years later, that's special to me. That's definitely tops the list above everything else.
There's so many cool storylines that happen in wrestling, but what I find interesting is you have like indie promotions now almost acting like Ring of Honor, WWE, where they're doing shows week after week or month after month, right? And they kind of continue on with the same storylines, the same feuds. Do you see that kind of as an evolution of the industry as well, where you have smaller or like there's smaller organizations or federations that are emerging?
I think that's kind of always been there. You know, even if you go back to the old territory days, they'd have ongoing storylines and that sort of thing. So I think that's been a new thing, or not. It has not been a new thing, but I think actually one of the newer things is showcase shows in the last couple of years, where it's not really about storylines. It's not about bad guys, good guys. It's about guys just kind of going out and more of a UFC boxing type of base, or where they just have good matches. And it's not really about who you cheer for. It's not about who you boo. It's not about storylines. It's just about go out, have a good match, have your character, get your character over with the audience. I think that's a direction that wrestling is kind of going in. I think there's going to be room for both, but you'll see a lot more of that nowadays.
You were part of something that has a bit of a cult following, we should say, on MTV, Wrestling Society X, which I think was something that if it was back, like I miss stuff like that. I mean, the combination for people that don't know Wrestling Society X, I mean, it was essentially a wrestling show that had like a lot of different wrestlers, had a lot of cool matches, had some pretty big names in there at one point too. You know, like Vampiro, X-Pac with Six Pack, Matt Sydal. There was a pretty good roster there, and had musical guests as well because of course it was on MTV. Do you think that if something like that would kind of get revived, do you think there'd be a market for it?
You know, it's kind of, if you really look at Lucha Underground, it's very similar.
Yes.
They kind of took the groundwork or the blueprint of Wrestling Society X and then just kind of took it to that next level. And so many stars developed from there. Don't forget, Seth Rollins was on Wrestling Society X.
Yes.
Ryan, who's obviously become a huge star, and like you said, Vampiro and X
Scorpio Sky.
Sky, Ricky Banderas, a lot of guys.
It was a really good roster.
It was a really good roster. You know, Mac Evans and you know, Pac was actually supposed to be on it. Neville, he was supposed to be on it, but there was like some visa issues or something like that.
But you look at that, it's like the roster was amazing. And you look at people probably will go back, watch the first episode, and be like, I have to watch it all now because it's quality. Like the quality out there, and there's so much quality. And a wrestler now has, like yourself, like an indie wrestler, has options, right? There's a lot of different options now. It's not just, I can go to the WWE or I can go here. You have a lot of options. You can do your own bookings. It's like, do you find like the autonomy for indie wrestlers have been like skyrocketed these past couple of years?
Absolutely. This is the first time in, well, at least since I've been in the business, that you can actually make a living wrestling without the big company.
Everyone's saying that. That's like and it's great to hear.
Yeah, for the last few years, I've only been wrestling as my job. I don't have a day job. I used to have a day job, but for the last couple of years, I've just been wrestling.
And what is it though? Is it the interest? Is it the shows? Is it the quality? What do you think is the reason why indie wrestlers like yourself are able to make a living off it?
There's just kind of a boom. If you look back at the Attitude Era for WWE, that was like their boom, where it was just like everyone, everywhere, you know, like I remember, you know, that was the first time I saw wrestling shirts in Hot Topic back then. It was like Austin 316 shirts. And it was like, man, this is crossing over. And you're hearing the themes and like, you know, wrestling was getting big again. Well, now it's kind of an indie boom of pro wrestling. And now you're seeing wrestling shirts in Hot Topic, but Bullet Club and Young Bucks and Cody and all these sort of things. And now Joey Ryan and Candice LeRae. So the boom is back, but it's on the smaller level, which is great. And that's why we're able to do what we do.
I think I saw a Kingdom shirt too once at a Hot Topic, which I thought was pretty crazy.
One of the Sky shirts.
We gotta get. I mean, do you kind of? I mean, you do your own thing. Scorpio Sky does his own thing. Is there kind of a part of you though that, like, because you were with Ring of Honor, and Ring of Honor is right now, it's safe to say it is booming. It is doing very well. They are doing great things. I mean, can you see? So I had Matt Taven on, and I thought this was really interesting. He was talking about. We talked about Adam Cole going to the WWE. He's now in NXT. We talked about that. And Matt Taven says that, you have a very good talent from Ring of Honor leaving Ring of Honor. But when people will Google Adam Cole, they will find Ring of Honor. So it's like him going to WWE will drive more fans and more interest to Ring of Honor. I never thought of it that way. Have you like, what do you think about that? It's like, it kind of like when these guys that wrestled in the Indies and Ring of Honor for many years go to WWE, people want to see what they've been doing before that. So it kind of creates Ring of Honor fans in a sense.
It does. If you look at all the guys that have become successful in the WWE that passed through Ring of Honor, you know, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Kevin Owens, and now Adam Cole. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. You know, that's only going to drive popularity to Ring of Honor. And I think Ring of Honor is doing quite well. When we ran in San Antonio back in November or whatever, we actually ran opposite
NXT.
Yeah, and we sold out, and they didn't. So I'm not, knocking them or anything, but like there's a place for Ring of Honor, and a lot of people are excited about it. I think the Bullet Club and Cody and the Young Bucks are have a big, notch in their cap, and that's why that happens. And I think it's only going to grow from here.
And I think the thing too is you look at guys like Dalton Castle. Dalton Castle has an incredible gimmick. Dalton Castle is doing crazy things in the ring, outside the ring. This is the type of thing that these kind of big, like, elite gimmicks and elite, like, people, like superstars like him are going to be used and cherished on Ring of Honor for a long time to kind of and create their own, like, their own legacy. I mean, look, the Young Bucks. I mean, what they have done over the years is just insane.
Yeah, let's talk about the Young Bucks for a minute. We'll get to Dalton Castle. The Young Bucks are doing what's never been done before. And they're good friends of mine, but like they are the biggest non-WWE pro wrestler. I mean, they're bigger than a lot of guys in WWE, and it shows. Their shirts outsell WWE shirts in Hot Topic. These guys are mega stars, and if you're not paying attention, they're getting invited to, they were gracious enough to bring me with, and they went to they were invited to the headquarters at Fridays and go and eat all this food that they're going to debut and just be wined and dined, and they get this a lot, and they've got very, very, very strong following. They put a shirt out, people buy it. They're mega stars, and they are making a very good living at this, and they're actually kind of opening the doors for a lot of us. So everyone, I know they get a lot of hate, but they're really doing something that's helping all of us on the independent level. Mm-hmm. And as far as Dalton Castle goes, I love his character, man. He's got such a cool, like, shtick where he comes out with the boys and his whole outfit and the music, and it's just something different. And I have a feeling WWE would love to get their hands on him, but I hope he stays with Ring of Honor for a long time.
It's one of those things too where like Kevin Kelly, a commentator with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he was with Ring of Honor, and he was talking about also like another name. I mean, we can go on and on with people that are on Ring of Honor, like Kenny Omega, like superstar. You know what I mean? Like a superstar.
Yeah. Kenny Omega's is, if you want to look at like the top 5 best wrestlers in the world, I mean, WWE, non-WWE, whatever it is, Kenny Omega is going to be in that list. He's going to be top 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like, I would probably still put AJ Styles at number 1.
That's interesting. So give me your list. Give me your top 5. No order, but like, who would you put in like your top 5 right now? Any dark horses too that you're like that you've seen wrestle?
Myself. Of course, right?
Of course, you're in there.
I can't put a top 5, man. Like I said, I think AJ Styles is probably going to be number 1. I just think AJ's next level. He's special. He's just, you got to give it to him. He's still going
have you wrestled him?
No. I really wish we did. I really wish.
So who's the coolest person you've ever wrestled, and who is someone that you want to wrestle?
The coolest person as far as like, wow, I'm wrestling this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Or like a very cool match or something that you'll never forget, or...
Gosh, that's so hard. So many, honestly. So many. It'd probably be easier to say someone that I would like to wrestle.
Yeah.
It would be, obviously, AJ Styles would be one. Kurt Angle was a big one. For years, I wanted that match again. Some close calls, same as AJ and Kenny Omega. Those would be matches I'd like to have. Okada would be a really cool one. Obviously, Okada is one of the best in the world. So, and as far as the wow moment in the ring, honestly, there's been so many. Shelton Benjamin was really cool. X-Pac was cool. Years and years and years ago, when I went to Osaka Pro, I was in the ring with Super Delphin at one point, and that was pretty amazing. And he was still at that time, so fast, and he could still go, and like, just, I'm probably forgetting a bunch of them, but yeah, Cody Rhodes actually. Let's say that one. Cody Rhodes is it wasn't a wow moment, But Cody Rhodes is obviously a legitimate superstar that I wrestled a couple of times this year, and I just think our chemistry is so good. And I hope we get to have a lot more matches because I think we haven't even got close to the type of uh, heights that we can reach. You know, we've only wrestled in 2 singles matches, but they were both very good. And he's one of those guys where I was in the ring with and I was thinking, wow, this is going extremely well. He's so good. I think Cody is one of the best in the world, honestly. He's probably top 5 as a performer overall. He's a very, very good wrestler. You know, you might, you know, you can have your quarrels about, you know, whether he's a Kenny Omega or an AJ Styles or whatever. But as far as being an overall performer, being able to go in the ring, being able to talk, being able to walk the part, look the part, Cody Rhodes is top 5.
Absolutely. Well, we'll wrap up here. But Scorpio Sky, thank you so much for joining us on the show. We really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure. For anybody out there that wants to follow me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Scorpio Sky, and ScorpioSky.com is coming back. I'm getting it relaunched for 2018, so keep looking for that. And you'll have to excuse me. This is very early in the morning. People don't know this is actually pretty early here in the West Coast, so I was just asleep a few minutes ago, and I apologize if I'm kind of like.
All good, man. No, all good. Well, we wish you all the best for 2018, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem. Well, this has been Popturnative, Week of Wrestling. You can catch previous episodes of Popturnative on YouTube and on iTunes as well. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, popturnative.com for more content. Yeah, that just happened. Until next time, this is Scorpio Sky PDB signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popturnative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.